When the choice seems to be to tear down the church
or build a wall around it,
we aim to walk the narrow road of nuance
through the wilderness between the warring factions
and try to figure out what it means
to love God
and people well.
Action?
It's been a while. Forgot how to do this.
Can you tell it's been a minute? We're saying action.
I mean, I see video.
Yeah, I see. I see your beautiful face.
No, it's something. But this is the face of someone who likely needs more sleep and other things. I don't know what other things, but they're
wow. It's a PG-13 episode today.
No, that's not what I mean.
So you don't need that? Is that what you're saying?
Carefully. Do what?
So you don't need that?
I mean, no, it's good too. But,
welcome to 2026, everybody.
I'm telling you. Yeah.
Oh, goodness.
We made it to 26.
Yes, we did.
Yeah, and maybe that's all that needs to be said about that.
It's a short episode today.
Did we question at moments making it to 26?
In terms of the podcast or just life?
I meant life, but maybe both.
Yes. And yes.
Yeah. I don't know if I've ever had like a moment where I've been like, oh, we're going to stop doing this now. Obviously, there's times it's tougher to make happen than we want to, but
I'll be honest. So it's not that I've thought of less about maybe we should stop doing it. It was more about, do I have anything else to say that would be helpful to somebody to listen to? I have wondered that.
Yeah, I've wondered that about you too.
He's coming in swinging this year, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, and I think, that's something we've talked about. Like I don't know that we've exhausted what we've talked about, because I think there's moments where it rears its head, like even just reminders of the importance of it with things like, we had the shepherds and stages early on. Mm-hmm. And you continue to see things like that with Michael Tate and, recently with Philip Yancey and people who just continue to fall. So I think those conversations are still relevant. But I think part of what we've talked about is what more can we discuss? And, thinking about things is great, but maybe how can we get to some actionable things that, hey, as followers of Christ, this is what we should be doing in these times.
I was listening to something earlier today from John Mark Comer. You'll be shocked by that, I'm sure. But he has this he has this practicing the way thing that he's a part of now. It's about spiritual formation and such. And so they have a podcast where he is on there, and then there's other folks on there sometimes too. And specifically this, the last two episodes that I listened to in the car earlier today were about kind of formation and stage of life. And he was talking about, and he's not the only one who talks about this. This has been a thing for as long as humans have been writing things down. And so he quotes a lot of people in this conversation. But he remarked that there are different stages to life. There's really two stages of life. There's when you are a child, and then there's when you are older, except there's this little in-between thing where there's a shift. Okay, so this is John 21:18. Jesus is talking to Peter. He says, "Very truly I tell you, when you were younger, you dressed yourself and went where you wanted. But when you are old, you will stretch out your hands, and someone else will dress you and lead you where you do not want to go." And then he said, "Follow me." And kind of subdividing life into those two categories, which is when you're younger, you don't have responsibilities. You're figuring out, either you're a kid, who isn't thinking about much of anything, or when you start to get a little bit older, late teens, early 20s, you start making sense of who you want to be, and that's your period of greatest energy and sense making and question asking and all that. And then at some point you look up and you have all these responsibilities, whether it's, you're a decade or more into your life as a working adult, and maybe you have a spouse and children, and your life is built more on responsibilities than opportunity. And for a lot of people, it's kind of a dig in the head, because there are things about the life that you had that you want to hang on to, but then there are things that God has for you in this next stage of life that will require you to accept that things are different now, or to transition or whatever.
Yeah.
And these are just things I'm thinking about personally for myself, but I think the way it applies to this question is, we started this out, it was 5 years ago now, I think. And
Yeah.
it very much came out of questions we had and things we were feeling and conversations we felt like either were or weren't happening that we wanted to contribute to. So the question that comes from me is like, there's a whole lot of podcasts out there. There's a lot of people with spiritual or religious platforms. And I don't think that either of us really started this out with aspirations to join that crowd per se. Because, who needs to listen to two more white dudes with beards talk about theology, in some sense.
Should I shave?
I'm not going to, so it has to be you. It has to be. I need this thing. Trust me. It's more just a question of like, well, a lot has happened in the last 5 years, good and bad. And what does God want from unbetween in the moment that we're in now? How can we continue to contribute new things, or, call ourselves and other people to account and get people to think about the kind of the third way of Jesus in the moment we're in now? That's where my brain goes.
Yeah, I agree with all of that. And I think it is one of those things where if things have a season or a time, you should always be asking, is this what I'm supposed to do? Or is this the right way for me to do it? Even what you said about kind of growing in different things and different requirements. I think back when I was, a single guy in high school, college, just you don't worry about things, right? Not to the same extent. Like, it's me. Yeah, if I hurt myself, that's not great, but I'm affecting me. So I'm going to go mountain bike or mountain climb or make stupid decisions with my life, because at the end of the day, it impacts me. And I think the older you get, you realize for many reasons that's not true. First of all, getting married, well, then it's me and my wife. And there's, maybe still some freedom you feel there because we're okay. And then you have kids, and it's like, no, if I do something stupid, not only is my wife growing up without her husband, I've got kids growing up without a father. And and then there's even just the side of that of like, as a follower of Christ, I have to understand it's not just my life. And the way I live impacts even the views some people have of the faith, or, not that God won't use my missteps to glorify him. He surely does and has, thank the Lord. But there's more to it than what sometimes we think. But yeah, I don't know. I think as that relates to the podcast, it's just making sure we're doing it for the right reasons. We talk a lot about motivation in other conversations that we have, and if we're not willing to continue to address that here, that's a problem.
Yeah, and it makes you wonder, well, what do we need to lean into? Because it's funny, I had somebody that they had shared the podcast with somebody else. It was my brother shared it with somebody, and the feedback he got was like, man, this is really good. They really don't hold back or something like that. And I was like, okay, I hadn't thought of us as that sort of thing. But it does make me wonder, are there things that we do hold back on? Or, are there things that we avoid talking about? Or, I don't know.
Ooh.
Are there things that we are uncomfortable to discuss together? And should we lean more into those things? I don't know. That doesn't sound fun, but it might be helpful.
Yeah. And I think there should be more and more moments like that. I think it's easy to say, I think it's easy sometimes to give ourselves a pass because we're thinking about these things or discussing and having the conversations, and other people aren't doing that, and to feel comfortable having the conversation, but not to really let it push you necessarily. Not that other things don't push us within church and other communities, but I don't know if that makes sense.
It does, yeah. So much of what we wanted to talk about when we started doing this was conversations that we felt like where's the middle ground on this stuff? Can we just sit down and talk through this? And it's easy enough when you find that you agree about things. It's harder when you find that you don't agree about things, and
Yeah.
continuing to maintain some kind of level of brotherly or sisterly love and grace as you work through that stuff.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
harder even than trying to find the third way sometimes.
It is. And I think even some of the things we've talked about, I mean, and I've heard from, I mean, your brother as well. We've talked some about it. Like, man, in what ways are we trying so hard to find a middle ground that maybe there's not one?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe we are supposed to take a hard stance here because there are plenty of things like that. And we've discussed some of them, but just because there's a hard stance, maybe there's a middle ground in how you handle it. I think have been some of our conversations, which is fair.
Yeah, because I am somebody with pretty strong convictions and opinions as well. You know, I think there's a difference. But even with that, those are not to be wrapped around a bat and, you know, hit people over the head with it. That's not going to do any good.
Absolutely. Yeah. So what we've said, I mean, thinking 2026, what is on your mind?
Other than current events stuff that we might talk about, which is pretty fair game, always has been, really.
Yeah.
There isn't anything that I just really want to delve into too much, or there are not very many things. Here's one. Mission trips.
Elaborate.
Well,
I hear you.
Without giving too much away, I think a mission trip at best can be a life-changing experience for you and a lasting moment of ministry for the people that you are going to see, wherever that is. Or it could be religious tourism. And we both came up in church cultures that really valued mission trips, and I think there's now some conversation about. I think it's worth looking back on and making sense of, and asking hard questions about what were the good and what were the bad parts of it, or was it all good, was it all bad, that kind of thing, because it hasn't gone away.
Yeah, there's an article at the Onion. If you're not familiar with the Onion,
Oh,
it's
yes.
a satire piece, like the Babylon Bee. Our audience may be a little more familiar with the Babylon Bee, but they had an article years ago that said something to the effect of college student returns from mission trip and it completely changed her Facebook profile. And I agree. I think you do see a lot of, like, honestly, I mean, there's a lot of people who will go on a mission trip because it looks good on a resume.
Yeah.
And not that God can't use that, but to your point, I think there are times where the motive there can be wrong, and that may affect the outcome.
Yeah. Or it being a way in which your level of spirituality is measured.
Yeah.
That's something I experienced. And again,
Yeah.
we don't have to have the whole conversation right now, but I think
but I think that's definitely something to talk about. I mean, and honestly, it feeds a lot of what's been on my mind. Just the laziness and comfort that the American church has today.
You've never talked about that, though.
We have, but I wonder sometimes if we talk about it the right way. I think it's easy to pick on the surface level stuff and leave some of the deeper stuff alone, because it starts affecting more than the American church. It's us, because I think that's part of the problem. We've made the American church something we do on Sundays, and in some regards it is, but that was never the purpose of the church. We are supposed to be the church every day. And I think for most people, it's something they do on Sunday. And that seems like a harsh generalization. I get it. But even myself, I can be there at times. You go on Sunday and then, we go to work, go through my work week. And it's easy to do that and not crack the Bible or not think about even the things of God. And ultimately, if you're not doing that, then you're not living your life on mission. And that's part of the problem, I think, with mission trips. We've made them these little things, and our whole life is supposed to be revolving around the mission of God. And that includes our day-to-day, where we are. We are the church here. We're supposed to be ministering and sharing Christ to the people around us. And then there's obviously a global purpose where there's others who are called to go overseas and try to build a church in areas where there's very few believers and not people to share the gospel in their everyday. And it's interesting to me that we're so quick to go maybe on a short-term trip and share the gospel when we're not willing to do it in our day-to-day.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I don't know. And we've even talked about the whole evangelical movement and what that's really railing against. And
Yeah, something to
I
that.
just wonder if there's more there, you know?
Yeah, no, I think all that is appropriate. One of the things that came out of me listening to this thing earlier today, other than what I've already mentioned, is there were two episodes. The second one was about the stages of life. The first one was about the four different kinds of sin, and
Okay.
one of them is like I think he called it gross sins, not gross like ew, but gross in size or in application. So like,
Hmm.
are you murdering and stealing and there's the things that anybody, religious or not, would probably say that's not good. And
Yeah.
then the next one is conscious sin, which is, I know this is wrong, but I'm going to do it anyway. The next one was like an unconscious sin, where you're not even aware
Hmm.
necessarily that you're in a pattern of sin, and it might take the
Yeah.
Holy Spirit or somebody else to point it out. And then there was part of conscious sin is like knowing that it's wrong but struggling with it. Like, I don't want to
Yeah.
do this, but I have an addiction, or I just can't say no to this thing, or it's the
Not
thing I
one of
go.
those where you're saying, like, I don't care. You
Yes.
care, but still it's just not something you're able to
Yes.
fight. Like, yeah.
Yeah, and then the final one, which I think this is getting at what you're talking about, he said is sins of attachment, where
Hmm.
you are putting your trust and your definition of flourishing or the good life, or
Yeah.
not even success necessarily, but your happiness, your well-being, your joy is contingent on this thing being this way. And maybe
Yeah.
it's a relationship that's without conflict, or maybe it's am I having enough sex, or
Yeah.
am I getting the food that I like? Do I like where I live? And some of it's comfort stuff, but some of it is like deeply held relational desires for companionship or connection or community. And kind of the point he was making was that, like, even if you don't have those things, if all you have is Jesus, is that okay, and is that enough? And
Hmm.
that one was, I mean, I think we've heard people say things like that, but that's one, honestly, that I'm struggling making sense of, because one of the primary ways that God loves us is through other people, and
Yeah.
through, I mean, blessings as we have talked about them, not necessarily like monetary, or you have a nice car or whatever, but those things that, the way you find joy in relationships with people, the good
Hmm.
things that they bring to you and all that. And that's one that's hard for me, honestly, of making sense of, like, well, if I am in conflict with this person, or if my relationship is not where I want it to be, it's hard for me to be happy or okay with that. And there's a
Yeah.
part of me that's like, so I'm just supposed to pretend that this is okay. I'm supposed to be all right with the fact that my life is not where I want it, or
Yeah.
where I know it could be. Even, and he said, like, envy is one of those, is really closely tied up in that. Is like, well, I look at these people and it seems like they're having a much, quote, easier time with this
Yeah.
or that thing, and I know that's possible. Why isn't it accessible in my life? And it's hard to think and feel those things and not uh, feel them. I don't know.
Yeah.
And so, like, thinking about that deeper level that you're talking about, it sounds like attachments, doesn't it? Is often unspoken,
Yeah.
contracts that we're living, of like, well, yeah, I'll give of myself, and I'll serve my family, and I'll serve my church, but if I don't have this, then things are not okay, and that's not okay.
I think there's a lot to that. I think it's interesting, in Second Timothy, we went through that in church not too long ago. And one of the things that like hit me really hard in Second Timothy 2, it says no one serving as a soldier gets entangled in civilian affairs,
Hmm.
but rather tries to please his commanding officer. And that stuck with me over the last few months. Just, man, in what ways am I getting sidetracked from the mission because I'm pursuing the things you mentioned?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I think we're so quick to that point just to say, well, those aren't they're not bad things. You know, oh, it's not wrong to want to do better at work. It's not wrong to want to make more money. And that maybe that's fair, but at what point does it's not wrong really kind of take that first place desire in our heart to pursuing the things of Christ?
Yeah. And it's all the harder when it's not the obvious stuff. You know, like I think it's obvious, anybody would agree, well, no, money isn't everything. I mean,
Yeah.
but do we really believe that? But
Yeah.
even setting stuff like that aside is like, well, I want to relate to my spouse better, or I want to relate to my kids better, or my parents, or whomever. Or, you know, I want to work a job maybe that doesn't pay everything, but that is fulfilling and that can engage my passions. And it is hard when one of those things is out of balance or out of whack or not
Yeah.
where you want it to be or feel like it should be or even know it could be. It's hard to reconcile yourself with that.
Yeah, yeah, it is. I know we've talked about it on here before. I mean, I enjoy my job. I like it. It doesn't give me the creative outlet that I desire, and that was part of doing something like the podcast and some other things I'm involved in. And part of it's coming to that kind of understanding of maybe I'm not supposed to get that from my work right now, but God chooses to use it in my life in these ways where I'm not making money off of it.
Yeah.
But it's what he wants. And is that enough, to your point earlier? I mean, even if it's not what we want and our desire, is it enough in a world that tells you, hey, you should pursue your desire and get what you want? And
Yeah.
daily, I feel like the world's telling you that in some way.
Well, they're not just telling you, they're selling you.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
Starting it off with a bang, aren't we?
Yeah. Yep. And we were trying to avoid deep conversation on this one, right? Was this an intro to 26?
I don't know. We've often remarked, or you in particular have remarked that, like, man, let's get past the small talk and right to the good stuff.
Yeah.
In talking with people, so I don't think there's anything. If you're new here, welcome. This is what we do.
Yep.
And if you are not new here, then you knew what to expect, probably.
Yep. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But yeah, I don't know, and that's just more and more the case for my life, and I'm sure it bugs people, but it's like I want to have deep conversation. Not that there's not a place for getting to know people and getting to understand what makes them tick, but it should always be in order to get deeper, I feel like, and to have those different conversations. And even to our point earlier, I mean, gospel conversations are way easier than we make them sometimes.
Yeah.
You know, living for the gospel doesn't mean I'm going out and with my Bible and sharing with 20 people a day necessarily. Maybe it's I have a conversation with someone that makes them think about God a little different than they have.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Well, and you were talking earlier about, I guess, about forcing or making. We were talking about mission trips and then being like this short-term thing that you do when you're not willing to do anything at home, which does happen sometimes.
Yeah.
I think really there should be an overflow out of who you are in Christ into every area of your life. So it's not like, okay, I'm in mission mode now, or I'm in work mode now, or now I'm in family mode. There's only one you, and there's only one you in Christ that he wants, and he wants you to be his representative, his image, wherever you are and whatever you're doing.
Yeah.
And so it is like that, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, and you think about people who are so into something. Sports is an easy one to pick on, but someone who's so into sports or their team that, like, you don't have to ask if they're a fan because either they're going to tell you or they're wearing the
They're wearing the jersey,
regalia or whatever it is. And to a point, you know, I feel like it should be that obvious that we are sons and daughters of God Most High, like that. It just oozes from us. That's maybe not the best word to use, but there should be something about us where people can tell we're at least different. I mean, it kind of comes back to, even we talked about being citizens of heaven and residents of earth. We should look weird to the rest of the world. There's plenty of things we do and believe that should look weird. Our lives should look a little weird.
Yeah, it's you know, I think there's a difference in what we're talking about and just plastering yourself with Christian stuff.
Yeah.
There's a difference in being led by the Spirit in any situation and trying to wave a Christian flag in any situation, for sure. And that might warrant another longer conversation even.
Sometimes you get the honk and someone drives by you throwing you the finger and there's a Christian fish on the back, or you hear them just talking in a way that a believer shouldn't talk, but they're wearing a shirt from their church or the
Yep.
Chosen or whatever, and
Yeah.
um,
The pastor at a church I used to go to said, if you're going to be rude at the restaurant after church today, take our church sticker off your car.
yeah, yeah, and that's, I mean, and not that we're not going to have moments, right?
Yep.
Even the best, and I'm using air quotes here, the best of Christians with their behavior are sinful, have sinful moments, but don't just outright live like an idiot and then play the and it's back to that going to church on Sunday and then living the way you want to the rest of your life. That's not how following Jesus works.
No, Paul reflects, I think this is in 2 Corinthians actually. He gives this long list of things that you're not supposed to do. And he says anybody who lives this way is not going to inherit the kingdom of God. And I think that's a passage that people tend to misuse to say, like, oh, if you do this, you're going to hell. Well, no, there's a difference in I struggle with this or I made that bad choice and I am living this way. I have made a lifestyle of these kinds of choices. And so, I mean, well, we were talking about shepherds and stages and platform a minute ago. Yeah. Everybody is going to fail. There's a Demon Hunter song called "I Will Fail You." Of that, I'm sure.
Not K-pop Demon Hunters.
No, it's different.
New people. Yeah.
And the chorus is, "I will fail you to the core," and it's acknowledging like sooner or later I am going to let you down in some way, not as a means of excusing it, not as an expression of pessimism or despair, but just like, again, don't hope in me. I will let you down.
Yeah.
Hope in the one I'm trying to follow, which is different.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, even Paul said, "What, follow me as I follow Christ." Like, it's not about me because I'm gonna mess up, and I'm trying. Yeah, that's good.
And I guess thinking about 2026 for us is, as much as I hate to say this, it should probably look a little messy in terms of like, we're not here because we have all our stuff together and we want you to just listen to us and, if you just do this, then you'll be fine.
Yeah.
We don't have that to offer, or at least I don't. Maybe Ryan does.
Yeah, catch me on a good day. No, I do not.
But part of the way that I think we can identify and maybe be examples, not to follow, but to identify with, is hearing and seeing us confront the hard, sometimes hard or even beautiful reality of the things we're trying to make sense of on the air, as it were. Yeah. Sometimes we come and we have very, our thoughts are really formed on something. And we're able to, and we just say, yeah, that's great. And then other times, like there's an episode that we're going to put out, or maybe by the time you're hearing this, it may already be out, in which Ryan and I are coming from a little bit different mindsets on an issue. And you hear us kind of working through it. And I don't know that we got totally there, whatever even that means. But if the totally there is that we come out of a difficult conversation and we're still brothers and we still care about each other and our families, and we're still going to turn the mics on after the difficult conversation, well, that's kind of the point. Yeah. And if we, who are hard-headed and obstinate and think that we know what we're talking about, can do that, then maybe that means you can do that too with that difficult coworker or family member or, whomever, that church member that you'd rather not mess with. Maybe that can be an encouragement to you that it is possible. And even if we get it wrong, and even if it's messy, God doesn't get it wrong, and God works in the messy. That's the only sandbox he has to play in, actually. And here he is with us, getting his hands dirty.
Yeah, yep. And that's important to note. I mean, if you're new here in 26, there's a number of episodes you can go listen to, but please know, like, our goal, and hopefully it's clear on those episodes, is not to build some follower base for ourselves. We live in social media that's addicted to getting followers of yourself, and what we're trying to do is to just have conversations that help you follow Jesus a little more closely. We want you to enjoy it and would love for you to subscribe, and all those things.
Also describe it to people.
Yeah, absolutely. But our goal is not to platform ourselves. That's not what we've ever been about. And I mean, I think we've started many years talking through just these resolutions and making yourself better. And I think we skipped last year, but the whole purpose of even those conversations are kind of what we're talking about. Like, how do I make sure I'm not pursuing what the world tells me I should be, but I'm pursuing God and growing closer to Him and putting myself in situations to have hard conversations. And that's what we're about.
Yeah. Well said.
Sometimes I say things.
Just now it was
Okay.
well said.
Yeah. But yeah, and I do. I think the last conversation again. Hopefully, I get it done and get it out there before this one's released. For those of you who are listening, maybe you can tell us. But I had it edited and ready to put in the intro and outro, and it got swiped from my computer, and so I'm working to put it back through. I won't put it on you. I'm working to put it back together as closely as possible with Zoom audio. It won't be great, but I do think, I mean, even if anything that came out of it at the end, a spoiler alert, if it hasn't come out, there was just kind of this moment of it's okay to disagree on certain things, but understand this is horrible. And how do we handle ourselves as followers of Jesus? And in today's world, and what I've already seen in 16 days of January,
Yeah.
that's going to be important for us, because we may not agree completely politically or socially or whatever it is, but if Jesus is Lord and we agree on that and who He is and His finished work on the cross, and that's the only way to heaven, and if we agree on those core tenets, that is going to affect how we live and what we do and what we talk about.
And not agree on those tenets. Believe.
Yeah.
You know, like the I heard it described once that like we agree on about a lot of things, but we believe very few things. And that like it's easy to give an intellectual assent to something or say, yes, I affirm that is true. It's another thing to trust in it, like the whole chair analogy. I can say, yeah, that chair will hold my weight. I don't really believe it until I sit in it.
Belief requires action.
Yeah.
Especially when it comes to faith. I think that's important to note. We had a discussion, not to get too theological.
That's not what we're here to do.
One of our kiddos had just asked, like, what about, in the end times, and like, what if when God returns, someone's like, oh, okay, now I believe. And it's like, I don't know that was faith, faith it's the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. It requires stepping out, and I was like, I don't know what that looks like then. I'm not sure if it's, oh, hey, I'm here, look at me, if that's genuine faith. Now, I don't know everything God's going to do, so, but there's a difference there, I think.
You're not going to give us your eschatology system right now?
I mean, I can, but I don't know if that's what we're wanting to do.
Mine would be pretty short. I don't freaking know.
I think that's ultimately where any of them have to be surrounded by, I don't know. Maybe that's the start. I don't know, but...
Well, people get worked up about that.
Yeah.
I don't hear, I don't know a whole lot in those conversations, but never mind.
Yeah,
Talking about rabbit trails.
There's things we know in Scripture, but there's way more that we don't know. And so, yeah, I think you can put together ideas, and there's some good ones out there. There's some out there that I would say have some unbiblical items attached to them.
I think I think the place to land on that conversation is the same place to land this one, which is, man, I don't freaking know, but we can trust the Lord.
Yep, He's got it planned.
Yeah.
It's not our job to. So, yeah, and that's what we'll see with 26. We don't freaking know. But we're going to talk about some stuff, hopefully new stuff, because I think that's been on our mind. Like, what have we exhausted? What new things can we talk about? And please, I know we say this a lot, but we'd love to have y'all's input.
Very much so.
Taylor's brother gave us some good ideas and some things that'll be interesting to talk about, some that will require a bit of preparation, and I think that's good. But we would love to have y'all's thoughts too, things you're struggling with. Don't let us just talk about things we're struggling with. Maybe that's one of the differences this year. Maybe there's things we have dealt with and on the other side of that we can speak a little bit better about, maybe.
Mm-hmm. Hopefully.
But we don't freaking know. Like Sarah said.
I'm going to keep saying it.
That's how we'll end every episode in
I don't-
2026.
man, I don't
and there will be
freaking know.
more than 4 of them, we promise.
We've said it on the air now, so that means we have to do it.
That's right. And we had moments where I feel like in 25 we were doing a lot, and it's just, it gets tough. And so we appreciate y'all being patient with us, most of you. I do know we get some texts from now to now from friends like, hey, when's the next one?
I'm just glad they care enough to want there to be more of them.
I agree. So hopefully we don't mess it up.
What a wonderful way to end.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.